G'day, I'm Dave, Out and About with Dave, and I've been in discussions with George 4x4 Recovery Gear. They're out at Acacia Ridge here in southeast Queensland in Brisbane, and I've been discussing with Tony about bringing you guys some information, some details on his recovery gear that he has and stocks, can make for you, and taking you through how to use them, their limitations, cautions and things like that. But he's also asked me to do it very simply, in a very simplistic manner. It reflects his characteristics. He's very pragmatic. If you ring him up, and he's more than happy to have a chat, he helps you through your problems, helps you understand your problems or your questions, and gives you very valid outcomes and solutions. His background is in lifting, craneage and hoists and things like that, so he's able to apply that into the 4x4 world. He doesn't necessarily show you all the shiny things he's got, nor does he show you a range of things that, upscaling or anything like that. It's not like you'll have fries with that. He'll give you the solution you need. So Tony can be found at Acacia Ridge, as I say. His address is www.george4x4.com.au, and 4x4 is 4x4, and he can help you out. So chase him up. He'll look after you. In fact, tell him I sent you. I'm an accredited four-wheel drive trainer, and I enjoy getting out and travelling around this great country of ours, but also I enjoy sharing my experiences and my knowledge and things like that. So first, I suppose it's a question of when are you stuck? What's happened? Why are you stuck? Where are you stuck? And how we're going to get out of that situations. So the other one is to look at when you do get stuck, don't get over anxious, don't panic, don't think, oh, this is the end of the world, unless of course it is pretty severe. But I suppose for the average time, for the first time you might get bogged and things like that, you think, oh, I'm never going to get out of this. But I suppose the questions are you safe? If the tide's coming in and the sand's really soft and things like that, and there's a storm approaching, it's nearly night time, then you're running out of time. And you need to look at your safety as well. Probably even, is the car worth it? But you need to look after yourself and others. And I suppose it's a question of who's with you. What knowledge have they got? What equipment have they got? How helpful are they going to be? Can you use them in the recovery? Will they use you in the recovery in that they know what they're doing and that they just need your help to do it? Who's with you? So, and what equipment do you have? You should have gear that matches your car. If you're driving a light car, don't have ridiculously heavy gear to recover yourself. Take the time. Sometimes we often talk about, oh, make yourself a cup of tea. That's important, just to stop, centre yourself, look at the problem. An important one is also to look at your options. In this case here, I'm coming up this little bit of a rise. It's very clayey here. In fact, I'm starting to wonder if I've chosen the right place to do this video. But it's a good example. It's clay, I'm not bogged. You might say I'm having a little bit of trouble just coming up over this pinch. So, can I reverse? Yes, I can. I'm not that bogged. If I do reverse, what's that going to get me into? Is there another way to get out of this situation? If I do reverse, can I come up another way? Do I just try another approach? How deep are my wheels bogged? Will a slow pull get me out of this? In this case, yes, it will. If there's another car up there, just hook me on. Don't snatch me. You can use a snatch strap, but don't snatch me, as in rapid acceleration and pulling the car out. Just give me a gentle pull up over this rise and we'll get out of it. Can a jack get me out? Like if my wheels are spinning in the bottom there and I'm in a bit of my car's at a bit of an angle, I haven't got the flex and one of my wheels is losing traction, I can lift it up, I can do some landscaping. I can put some rocks underneath, I can bring dig some dirt underneath some of the areas that are high, fill up underneath where it's low, etc, etc. We call that landscaping. I know in the Simpson Desert I've done a lot of wombat holes, I've dug them out, and it's good to fill those in, bring down the higher areas and give yourself a nicer area so you can get a straight run up. What else we got? We got some treads and we got some max tracks and things like that. Even alu tracks that link together and put in, they're all good. And sometimes in a situation like this, you can use one, just try and get it so it's not too steep to get you out. But you can even bridge a gully, like we've got a bit of a gully down in here. You can bridge that with some treads, either lengthwise or put them in, and they just fill that hole in so you can climb up over it. Reduce your tire pressure is another one. Like I'm currently sitting on 42 because I've just come off a main drag, and I'm sitting here at full tire pressure. I haven't lowered my tires. If I was serious, I probably would. And then of course, last is your snatch strap recovery, where we induce a load on the strap, the front car takes off forward, brings elasticity into that snatch strap, and then you get a jolt effect coming out. All very good, but very dangerous. You've got to be using the right equipment, and we'll go into that later on how to do a snatch recovery. I suppose another rule to look at is the 1 metre rule. So with a 1 metre rule, it may be that all you've got to do is move 1 metre and your car will be free to travel on its own. It's just a matter of picking that distance. What have you got? Pull yourself out and see how you go. Check. Okay, you don't need to be towed 50 metres up the road there. So before we can look at all our recovery gear, and this is part of it, but I'd like to start with the winch. So the winch, usually found here, of course, unless you've got a rear mounted winch when you're getting serious, but a winch sits underneath there on the bull bar fixed to the car. They usually come in 12,000 pounds, which is 5.4-ish tonnes. So you need to look at the loads. You can get heavier ones, you can get lighter ones, but a 5.4, 12,000 pounds is perhaps a good one for your average punter, I'll use that word, because we can do things, if it's not enough, we can do things with the ropes to make the winch more capable. And also if it's a lighter car, well, the winch isn't going to do any harm if it's underloaded. So it's overpowered for the situation, doesn't matter at all. So let's have a look at the winch in more detail. So with that 12,000 pound capability of the winch and the winch rope, which the 5.4 as I say, on a single flatline pull, not unlike this, you're actually using of that 5.4, if you've got a 3.2 ton car like this is stock is, this sort of four-wheel drive, 3.2, that gives you about 2 tons spare. A little bit, I'm just rounding figures here, and obviously I'm rounding to the safe side. You've got about 2 tons spare. But what happens when you're traveling and when you're recovering is that the terrain that you're on and things like the slope will affect that the car's effective weight. So sitting in a car park at shops, it'd be 3.2. Sitting here now like this, we've got a slope, we've got some mud and things like that, it adds to it. So slopes, for every 10 degrees of slope, you have about 17% of extra weight, effective extra weight. So what that means, and I won't go into all the mathematical calculations, but if you're on a 30-degree slope, you've got your 50% increase, which is taking up all that slack of two tons that we talked about. However, you also need to be mindful of the terrain. Like this here now, I've got a bit, whilst it might be a slower gradient, I'm also climbing up a little bit of a climb. I'm in some mud, I've lost some traction and things like that. My car is getting heavier. So you may want to scale down that 30 down to say 20 degrees or something like that. So don't panic. I'm going to focus on a single line pull first, which is just using the winch as it's straight up. But then we can go into other options where we reduce the loads by sharing it on, by doubling back and forth 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Okay, so we're going to do that. The terrain, sometimes in the military they call the mire. If you're bogged to cover the sidewalls of the tyre, again, you're looking at about upwards to 50% of the weight of the car again, because you've got some suction and things like that behind the tyre, and also some climbing up you've got to do in the front of the tyre. So it can be more than 50%. So again, you're using up that 2 tons of excess capability very quickly. I've got a rear diff locker on this car, so in effect my wheels won't lose that traction. But if you've got an open diff and one wheel's in the air or slippery mud and less weight on it, the other one won't drive at all. So you've lost that power in that wheel. And that's where you're actually dragging the car without effective use of the wheels. So you could be down to 50% again with only the front wheels working or the rear wheels working. So however, I will countenance that fact, because when you're winching, you generally don't need to be powering on your accelerator. So you're just sitting in neutral, allowing the car to be dragged along. I say this because if you're going up a slope or you're going along an area and you're putting your foot in the accelerator and you're climbing up over a rock climb or a step, you run the risk of jolting that car and jolting the line and putting a jerk load on that rope, if you like. It's not good for the rope, because you were calculating around the 3.5, 4 tons, and suddenly you drop back into that hole and you put a jarring effect on that rope. That's the word I was looking for, jarring. You're jarring that rope and possibly exceeding the load of the winch and the rope. So just be careful of that. So with those shock loads, yes, it exceeds those limits. So all this now sets the scene, if you like, for how we use the winch and what we do with it and how it works. And we can look at, as we go forward, we're going to look at a single line pull next, but then we can double that up, have the line go up to the anchor point, come back to the car. Suddenly you've got effectively 2 ropes pulling the car. You've halved the load on each rope. We can also look at a 3-line pull, up to the anchor point, to the tree, come back to the car, and go back again to a tree or another tree. We've got a 3-line pull. It'll get more exciting when we get into the Spanish Burton, a 4-line pull. I like those because it's very slow. You can see the loads being shared across those 4 ropes, and your capacities are increased. So the winch really loves it. Anyway, we'll get into a single line pull next in the next vlog, and take you through that and what to do and what not to do, and see how we go. Let's get you out of trouble, eh? If you're standing looking at the slope, and if you look at 3 meters away from you, if that slope is there at about your height, 1800 or 1600, depending how tall you are, that's the slope, that's 30 degrees. It's also about the same as a staircase. You can imagine a staircase going up.